Hello, boys. Welcome back to another session of online biology video tutorials. And this session is meant for class 12th biology students, and this is for 25th June 2021. As we have been discussing chapter 1, reproduction in organisms, for the last 3 days we have been dealing with the definition of reproduction, the significance of reproduction, types of reproduction. In that, we were thoroughly analyzing the various types of asexual reproduction, right from budding, fission, regeneration, spore formation, vegetative reproduction, in that artificial and natural. And now in this session we are going to talk about the sexual reproduction and various stages involved in sexual reproduction. So the events mainly that take place during sexual reproduction is that the events of sexual reproduction be grouped into three distinct stages, namely pre-fertilization event. This is the first stage or first event, and second one is the fertilization, and the third one is post-fertilization events. So we go off with the basic thing of sexual reproduction, as we have been talking about it, that sexual reproduction refers to the process of development of offspring, new individual, through the formation and fusion of male and female gametes. So there is a condition. What is the condition? There should be formation of male gamete and female gamete, and after the formation there should be fusion of male gamete and female gamete. Already I told you, gamete refers to reproductive cell, or sexual cell. So gamete, when we say, it refers to sex cell, reproductive cell. So there is a male sex cell or male reproductive cell and female sex cell or female reproductive cell. So under sexual reproduction, there has to be formation of male reproductive cell or male gamete. In case of animals, it is sperm, and in case of plants, it is pollen grain. Along with that, there should be formation of female gamete, and the female gamete or female reproductive cell is both in plants as well as in animals, it is ovum. So there has to be formation of sperm and ovum in case of animals. There has to be formation of pollen grain and ovum in case of plants. Then only sexual reproduction takes place. And once the gametes are formed, they have to fuse. That means in case of animals, there should be fusion of sperm and ovum that results in the formation of zygote. Similarly, in case of plants, there should be fusion of pollen grain with the ovum to form zygote. So these are the two conditions that should satisfy in order to have sexual reproduction. And then there are some exceptions, of course, that sexual reproduction is also called amphimixis or syngenesis, or it is also called amphigony. All the organisms grow to certain maturity in their life before they start reproducing sexually. The period of growth between their birth up to their reproductive maturity is called the juvenile phase. Yesterday's class we discussed about the different phases. So the juvenile phase. In plants, the period of growth between seed germination up to initiation of flowering is called vegetative phase. So the later part, when the organisms start reproducing sexually, it is called reproductive phase. So juvenile phase is of variable duration in different organisms. That also we talked yesterday's class. So the females of placental mammals exhibit cyclical changes in the activities of ovaries as well as accessory ducts along with the hormones during the reproductive phase. And yesterday I used two terms, estrous cycle and menstrual cycle. What are those? In non-primate mammals like cows, sheep, rats, deers, dogs, tigers, etc., such cyclical changes during reproduction are called estrous cycle. Whereas in primates, monkeys, apes, including us, human beings, it is called menstrual cycle. What is the basic difference between these two? See, during that menstruation, endometrial wall will be shedding off, and that comes out of the body in case of primates. Whereas in estrous cycle, the shedding of the endometrial walls gets absorbed. That is the main difference between the two, with of course various degrees of secretions of hormones. So many mammals, especially those living in natural wild conditions, exhibit such cycles only during favorable conditions and favorable seasons in their reproductive phase, and therefore they are called seasonal breeders. Many other mammals are reproductively active throughout their reproductive phase, and hence they are called continuous breeders. So, keeping this in background, we straight away go to the different events that take place during sexual reproduction. In that, as I said, three events mainly. First one is the pre-fertilization event. Second one is the fertilization. Third one is the post-fertilization. So let us discuss the first one, pre-fertilization events. So basically, the pre-fertilization event takes place through two substages. One is gametogenesis, another is gamete transfer. So here, as the term indicates, gametogenesis. Genesis means birth, giving rise to gametes. Just now I said reproductive cells. So it is basically gametogenesis involves the birth of gametes, male gamete, female gamete. And the second substage is the gamete transfer. That is, once the male gamete and the female gamete are formed, how does the male gamete receive, or how does the male gamete proceed to fuse with the female gamete? So it has to travel sometimes, and it requires some sort of mode, medium, like air, water, like that. So we will be discussing about these two substages now. So under gametogenesis, as I said, the process of formation of male and female gametes is gametogenesis, be it in plants or animals. The gametes may be homogametes or isogametes. That is, the two gametes, both male and female, appear similar. Appearance will be similar. Cannot categorize into male and female gametes. Means we cannot easily distinguish which is male gamete, which is female gamete. Then we say such gametes are homogametes or isogametes. Example, cladophora. On the other hand, if we are able to morphologically distinguish the male gamete from the female gamete, then we say heterogametes. That means physiologically, morphologically, they are different. So the male gamete with its typical morphological characters is called antherozoid or sperm, and the female gamete is called the egg or ovum. Normally we use the word ovum. Example, fucus, and of course human beings. And sexuality in organisms. We use a different terminology when we talk about the sexuality in organisms. The first one is homothallic or monoecious. Mono means single, monoecious. Homo, similar, thallus, thallic. So the terms used to describe bisexual condition of a plant. So we say plant is monoecious and the plant is homothallic. Similarly, heterothallic. Hetero means different thalli, and it is dioecious. The terms used to describe unisexual condition of the plant. So we use further to specifically describe a flower as staminate flower. As the terminology indicates, a flower having stamen, that is The stamen refers to gonad. We use the word gonad, reproductive organ. See, there is a difference between gonad and gamete. Gonadal cells will undergo meiosis and form gametes. So, the gonad here is the stamen, and it undergoes, every cell present in the stamen undergo meiosis and form pollen grains. So, when we say unisexual flower, that is uni, one, presence of only one sex, and that one sex, if it is a stamen, then we say it's a male flower. So staminate flower is basically a male flower, flower having a stamen. Similarly, opposite to that, pistillate, it's also unisexual, but it is pistil, a flower having pistil, and pistil is the female gonad. So we say female flower. So it may be surprisingly happy for all the males, for all the men like us, that there will be male flowers. Normally flower is synonymous with the females, but now you know that there will be male flower, there will be female flower, and there will be bisexual flower. So basically there will be three types of flowers in a plant: a male flower or staminate flower, pistillate flower, and bisexual flower. Okay, so three flowers will be there. Now, monoecious, as I said, mono means single. Both male and female flowers may be present on the same individual. Here, male flower will be there in one branch, female flower will be there in another branch. Both the branches will be in the same plant, then we say monoecious plant. Example, cucurbits and coconuts. Dioecious. Both male and female flowers may be present on separate individuals. Here we say male plant and female plant. Like example, papaya. Many times you will be watering the papaya plant, and after watering it, it grows, and your patience will be lost because the papaya plant is not giving papaya to you. You will kick that plant. Basically, it is your mistake because that's a male papaya. Okay, and similarly, date palm, khajur. Okay, palm. So these are dioecious. There is a male papaya and female papaya plant. Similarly, male date palm and female date palm. So we see through the diagrams the explanation of this. For example, you must have seen, all of you must have seen the earthworm physically. So earthworm is a bisexual animal. Bi means two sexes. Here you can see somewhere in the anterior portion of the earthworm, there will be a reddish brown colored structure called clitellum. Normally 13th segment to 18th segment it will be there. And in that clitellum, there will be both male as well as female gametes present. Like you can see here, presence of testis, presence of ovary, both. So both gonads are present in that clitellar region. Hence we say earthworm is a bisexual, or it's also called hermaphrodite. And similarly, in case of plant, there's a plant called kara or chara. It's a monoecious plant. It is equivalent, bisexual or monoecious. In case of animal, we use the word bisexual. In case of plants, we use monoecious plant. Look at that. The skara has got both oogonium as well as antheridium. This is male gonad, antheridium, and the oogonium is the female gonad. Both are present within the same plant. Look at that. Hence, it is monoecious. And similarly, in case of another animal, that is, for example, for unisexual is cockroach. Again, you must have seen in your own home, there will be two, male cockroach and female cockroach. So the male cockroach will be having the sperms or testis, as you are seeing here, and the female one will be having ovary. So sexes are separate. So we say unisexual animal. Uni means one, only one sex is present in one body. Next, we also see in Markantia, another plant, where it is a dioecious plant. That is, there will be male thallus and female thallus. Male thallus will be having antheridiophore, whereas the female thallus will be having archegoniophore. So, archegonia, antheridia, male and female organs, so reproductive organs. And in case of sweet potato, it is a bisexual flower. You can see here the presence of male, anther lobes, as well as over here. So both the sexes are present in the same flower. Then we say bisexual flower. So this is how we use different terms to understand the presence of various sex cells or gametes. Now, how these are formed? Gamete formation. It is basically because of what we call meiosis. Every gonadal cell will be undergoing, suppose this is gonadal cell, let's say it is a 2n. 2n means diploid, where n is equal to, for example, in our case, 23 chromosomes, one set of chromosomes. So totally there are two sets, 23 into 2. So 46 chromosomes will be there. So let us say in a testicular cell, a cell present inside the testis, having 46 chromosomes, will undergo meiosis. So, and meiosis, will be taking place in through two phases, meiotic 1 and meiotic 2. In meiotic 1, from parental cell, there will be formation of two daughter cells and the number of chromosomes will be reduced to half. Since the number of chromosomes are reduced from 46 to 23, it is called reduction division, RD, Republic Day. Remember? Reduction division. And the meiotic 2 will be just like mitotic. So we say from one parental cell there will be formation of two daughter cells each, and the chromosome number remains the same, 23. So that means it is Xerox copy. Since it is not having any changes in terms of biochemistry part of it and anatomical part of it, this 23 chromosomes remain, n number will be maintained, and there is no reduction in the chromosomes, so we call it as equal division, or normally you call it in school boys extra dosa, ED. So the only change is once these gametes are formed, there is a slight change in the shape of the gamete sperm. So this is how meiosis helps in formation of gametes, be it a male gamete or a female gamete. So parental body of organisms like Monera, fungi, algae and bryophytes is haploid. Haploid means only one set of chromosomes will be present. We denote with n. They reproduce gametes by mitotic division. So the n number is maintained. Parental body of organisms like pteridophytes, gymnosperms, angiosperms and most of the animals including human beings is diploid, because two sets of chromosomes will be there. We denote that with 2n. So they produce gametes by meiotic cell division. This is what I said. If the number is to be maintained, it is mitotic. If the number is to be reduced, it has to be meiosis. So in diploid organisms, specialized cells called meiocytes, that is gamete mother cell, we say MMC, like megaspore mother cell and microspore mother cell, we use this terminology, and they undergo meiosis. And once the gametes are formed, they has to be transferred. The male gamete normally has to travel to reach the female gamete so that fertilization takes place. So in most organisms, male gamete is motile because it has to travel, it has to be motile. And female gamete is non-motile because it doesn't require to go anywhere, it has to stay where it is supposed to be. So for male gamete to travel, there has to be a medium. A medium is needed through which male gametes can move. For example, in algae, bryophytes, pteridophytes, water serves as the medium through which gamete transfer takes place. Since several male gametes fail to reach the female gamete, hence the male gametes are produced in large number. Thousands of male gametes will be produced. So in majority of the organisms, male gamete is motile, means able to move, whereas the female is non-motile. Exceptions, a few fungi and algae, both types of gametes are motile. A medium is required through which the male gametes move. In algae, bryophytes, pteridophytes, water is the medium for gamete transfer. To compensate loss of male gametes during transport, because there will be environmental factors like salinity, heat, dryness of the climate, loss of moisture, and of course toxic environment, all these will be coming in the way of the journey of the male gamete. So majority of the male gametes will die. Hence there is a requirement to ensure fertilization. The organisms produce the male gametes in large numbers so that at least some male gametes are successful in meeting the female gametes so that fertilization takes place. To compensate the loss of male gamete during transport, the number of male gametes produced is several thousand times the number of female gametes produced. So this is how it takes place, and the male gamete uses pollination. So pollination is transfer of male gamete to female gamete through a medium. The medium can be water, medium can be air, the medium can be insect, medium can be human being himself. So the transfer of pollen grains from anther to stigma is called pollination. There can be self-pollination and cross-pollination. So self-pollination within the same flower, cross-pollination is from one flower to another flower. Pollen grains germinate on the stigma and the pollen tubes carrying the male gametes reach the ovule, and once it reaches the discharge male gametes near the germination of pollen grain on the stigma of a flower. So basically pollination takes place and the pollen tube formation takes place. Through the pollen tube, male nucleus 1 as well as male nucleus 2 will start traveling, and male nucleus 1 will fuse with the female nucleus. As a result of fertilization takes place, zygote will be formed. And this way of formation of zygote because of the fusion of male nucleus 1 and the female nucleus is syngamy. So this is how the starting of fertilization takes place. So in our next class we will discuss about how exactly this syngamy